What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Filip Hrgović. Get this. Filip Hrgović has stated through his trainer, Abel Sanchez, that he wants Moses Itauma next. Okay. And he had this to say, Abel, okay, in regards to his fighter. He said, Sanchez has praised Itauma's talent, but questioned his development, stating there's too many quick KOs might be hurting the 20-year-old's growth. Who knows if he's the goods or not? Filip would love to fight with him, says Abel Sanchez. And let me counterpunch. First off, I want to congratulate Abel Sanchez for actually allowing his fighter to fight someone like Moses. Because we've learned in the past, we've learned from Joe Joyce, which was also trained by Abel Sanchez, Triple G, which of course was trained by Abel Sanchez, was really once renowned for finding Triple G, okay, and taking the risk with fighting Triple G from Eastern Europe, from Kazakhstan, right? In both of those situations, Abel Sanchez kind of stepped in the way of possible fights that could have happened but never happened because he didn't want them to happen. Triple G with Erislandy Lara, Joe Joyce with Luis Ortiz, but now Abel Sanchez, sees a possibility with Filip Hrgović. And my counterpunch on that is, it's simple. I believe Abel Sanchez would fancy a fight with Filip Hrgović. It's simple. We all know Filip can take a punch. We know he's not chinny. We know he's tough. We know he's durable. We know he's experienced because he's been in there with quite a few fighters now. Okay, Danny Dubois, Zilly Zhang, all types of fighters that he's been in there with. And I feel that Hrgović is the kind of guy that if there is any way or any kink in the armor of the chin of Moses Itauma, Filip Hrgović will eventually find it because I think he can take those shots. And since someone like that can take the shots, we get the opportunity to see if Moses can take the shots. See, the problem with Moses is he's doing it too well and he's doing it too fast. He's doing it with ease. And we haven't heard it, or we haven't witnessed any resistance. We haven't seen him go through anything. And that's always a red flag. Because Moses, to me, it reminds me of a hyper version of a guy named Julian Jackson. Julian Jackson, the Hammer. Julian Jackson was a guy that was knocking people out. I mean, he was knocking people's spark out until he got caught. And then everyone witnessed in the mid-90s that, oh snap, he's chinny. He can't really take a punch too well. We found that out one night, and that's all it took for the other fighter to be daring enough, to be durable enough, to get hit by that sledgehammer punch or punches from Julian Jackson, right? But then deliver his own. I think that's why Abel Sanchez, needless to say, wants Filip Hrgović in there with him. The same for Andy Ruiz, because we all know Andy can take a shot as well. He's not a chinny fellow. So I think that's why. And the question is, does those quick knockouts, does that stop his growth? Well, I say this. It stops his growth if they double and triple up the amount of fighters that he's been fighting. If he doesn't go up in opposition like fights like Frank Sanchez and Filip Hrgović and Andy Ruiz, if he never gets to that point, if they pull a Deontay Wilder in retrospect, if they only have him going in with those fighters that are these fighters that never showed you anything, that never showed you any reason why Moses could be a dominant force in the division, well, yeah, that would stunt his growth. You know what I mean? But I think at this point, as long as he's taking out these guys that have nothing to offer, I think that's something that he's expected to do. But I wouldn't keep double and tripling up the same opposition for Moses to knock these guys out, because, you know, we'll get tired of that shit eventually. That's what I believe happened to Wilder. He had this crazy record, like 30-0, 30 knockouts, but those fighters were not on the level. Either we never heard of them, or they were just guys that weren't any good. Okay. And Abel Sanchez, I think he's going out on a whim because he's curious to see where this guy is. And I don't think he has much faith in Moses. I think based on who we've seen him fight, he looks phenomenal. Absolutely. But then again, it's who he fought. For example, Jaron Ennis, okay, just moved to 154. Everyone's praising him. A lot of criticizing, though. Hey, Usima Lima, right? He took him out. Guy with only one loss, knocked him out in the first round. But then again, who is he? Good question. In defense of Jaron Boots Ennis, that was a fill out, you know, a beginning of the division fight. You know what I mean? It was a tune-up fight. It wasn't something or anyone on that level, which is expected. So I don't give him that much, you know, criticism because of that. But it's the same thing for Moses Itauma. If you're blasting these guys that we never heard of, and by the way, we never heard of Usima Lima. I've never heard of him. So that being the case, you know, people get tired of these fighters knocking out these guys that we never heard of. Yes, we've heard of Dillian White, but yes, we also know that he's 36. He's closer to 40 than he is 30. And he's been out of the ring for quite some while. You know what I mean? And a lot of people thought that he was damaged goods in the first place. Just keeping it a buck, right? So it is what it is with that. But I am surprised with Abel Sanchez that he's willing to go out on the whim with his fighter, you know, and see if his fighter, Filip Hrgovic, can get the job done. But hey, I fancy the fight. If Filip wants it, give it to him. He was in there with a hell of a fight with Adelaide, and Adelaide, we know, can thump. And he took everything Adelaide had to offer. You know what I mean? And he was still standing. That's the type of fight we need for Moses Itauma next, okay? Because I don't think that Filip is on the level of Frank Sanchez, so it's not that high up. So at least we have to put him somewhere to challenge at some point someone with a name that we have heard of that isn't closer to 40 than 30. Okay? You guys tell me what you think of Abel Sanchez agreeing with this fight between Filip Hrgovic and Moses Itauma. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.